आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गांव मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाओ। आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गांव मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाओ। आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गांव मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाओ। आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गांव मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाओ।
Prabha Khaitan Foundation has been charting a resplendent journey in appreciating literature and enriching literary minds for the last 4 decades. The profound impact of the Foundation's literary initiatives is evident in its reach, touching the hearts and minds of individuals across India. I, Vinti Kathuria, Ehsaas woman of Agra, welcome you to yet another interesting episode of the Right Circle in Delhi with 2 esteemed guests, Abhilasha Sethia and Vidhi Beri. Today's literary event has been organized by Prabha Khaitan Foundation in association with India International Centre, Dinesh Nandini Ramakrishna Dalmia Foundation, media partner Dainik Jagran, and Ehsaas Women of Delhi. Eminent patron Sri Cement Limited is supporting the event as part of their CSR initiative. Authors, entrepreneurs Abhilasha Sethia and Vidhi Beri are bound by common love, good and nutritious food. They are mompreneurs who have co-written a cookbook titled A Superfood a Day, a book by 2 mompreneurs. They have associated to bring for all moms a super tool to prepare meals for little ones. They will be in conversation with Nilima Dalmia Adhar, Honorary Convener of Delhi NCR Affairs. Before the start of the session, introducing Prabha Khaitan Foundation will be my pleasure. Prabha Khaitan Foundation is a Kolkata-based non-profit trust founded in the 1980s in the city of Joy, Kolkata. It is the brainchild of an eminent Indian literature, entrepreneur, philanthropist, social activist, and feminist late Dr. Prabha Khaitan. Prabha Khaitan Foundation is on relentless journey to grow through the choicest activities and initiatives and encompass more and more cities both in the national and international circuits under its wing. Prabha Khaitan Foundation works as a coherent team with patron Sri Cement Limited, Distinguished Associates, and Ehsaas Women of India. Ehsaas is the women empowerment wing of the foundation, referring to the conglomeration of women from varied walks and spheres of life who come together to promote literature and culture and to support society. With the vision to work for a better tomorrow, the foundation endeavors to reach out to more people and enrich their life with stimulating and intellectual conversations on life and literature through initiatives like an author's afternoon, the Right Circle, the Universe Writes, Kalam, Akhar, and Loves. These initiatives encompass the languages and literary creations of India. The Right Circle is the stellar cross-country platform which is dedicated to encourage English literature and widen its spectrum on the global map. This initiative provides authors an opportunity to have an informal and engaging interaction about his or her life and literary works with a discerning audience who love literature. Allow me to say a few words about 2 amazing mompreneurs and authors amongst us, Abhilasha Sethia and Vidhi Beri. Abhilasha Sethia is passionate about food in many dimensions. Her love for food began early, taking inspiration from her mother's cooking. Over time, this journey became more studied, experimental, and creative. Abhilasha found herself several firsts around food. Her objective is to document the results of her long and intense involvement with healthy food that tastes good and share the results of all those who crave the same. Vidhi Beri, as a child nutritionist specialist, always preached that food is medicine for the body, be it for adult or children. She aims to have a full balanced plate with a portion of cooked protein, lots of vegetables, dollops of good fat, and a portion of grain every single day. Although New Age mother, she is convinced that Indian soil provides fabulous agricultural produce and that we do not need to feed imported products to our children. In conversation with Abhilasha and Vidhi is Nilima Dalmia Adhar, who is Honorary Convener of Delhi NCR Affairs. Besides a successful professional, she cherishes deep love for the power of pen and literary pursuits. Without much delay, let's start the session with Abhilasha and Vidhi. Over to you, Nilima ji.
Thank you, Vinti. Actually, this session was to be moderated by Vinti first, but she had some commitment at home and she thought she won't be able to make it. So I'm here by default. I guess you'll just have to lump that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have these two gorgeous ladies with us today here, Abhilasha and Vidhi, who have successfully demolished the age-old cliche that everything likable is either immoral, illegal, or fattening. We'll avoid saying married to someone else for the moment. We'll save that for another session. Vinthi and Abhilasha. Abhilasha, I'm meeting after 7 years, this time on the other side of the table, because I was in Kolkata in 2016, where she had interviewed me for my book, and I think I did a decent job of shock and awe. So we are here today with both Vinthi and with Abhilasha. Abhilasha is an F&B consultant and chef, which you've already heard from Vinthi, and her co-author, Vidhi, is a health transformation coach, which is actually the need of the hour. She has a decade of experience in maternal and child nutrition. Friends, a superfood a day is their joint offering to children and families for fresh and flavorful wellness. Welcome to this session, girls. My question, beginning to both of you, is what made you write this book?
Thank you, Nilimaji, and hello, everybody. I would first like to begin by thanking Prabha Khaitan Foundation for giving us this opportunity. Coming back to your question, what made me think and write this book? So my grandson was turning 3 years old, and I was just thinking that what can I present him for his birthday? Something which is meaningful. And then I just kept thinking that what am I most passionate about? And that had to be cooking. So I said it'll be really nice for me to, present him with a cookbook. And then I started working on it. And when I was doing my research, there aren't many, actually very few cookbooks in India which is totally dedicated to children, nutrition, and recipes. But then I started thinking that, I am very good at creating recipes, but I really don't have much of a knowledge about nutrition, and both go hand in hand. And I just kept thinking that whom can I ask? And actually, Vidhi is my very, very close friend, Ambika's daughter-in-law. And I said, let me just call Vidhi. And when I spoke to her, I got a very, very positive response from her. And she said that I would really love to co-author this book. So that's how, this whole idea of a superfood a day began. And I think Vidhi can...
Well, continuing with that question, Vidhi, is that, of course, the reason you wrote that book was you wanted to give a gift to your son, and that's beautiful. How is this book different from other cookbooks? Because this is clearly a niche book, which is one of its kind. You, Vidhi.
Like she said, there actually isn't a cookbook out there for children, especially with Indian recipes, Indian millets. So we are in the year of the millet. There is nothing out there which incorporates that. We don't have anything where we have meal plans for children who are above toddler age to about 10 years, segregating those, how to plan those meals with interesting recipes. And the third most important, I think the USP of the book is that we actually have videos accompanying the recipes.
That's fabulous.
So anyone in the family, whatever education you may have, you can actually see that and learn how to make those recipes. Yeah. So we've made it quite foolproof in that way.
And clearly you've time tested and tried those recipes. And
absolutely.
I wish you had pictures of your children who have been tested upon, and we could have seen them.
So actually the QR code, so when I started, when we started working on this, actually my son came up with this idea that, Mom, you have to have QR codes, you have to have videos. Young parents like us, you're busy, we are busy working, yet we love cooking. We don't have so much of time to go through the entire recipe. So please, there's going to be a lot of extra work. I said, my God, a lot of extra work. He said, yes, but you have to do the video. So that's how, we worked on almost, I think, about 48, close to 50 recipes have the QR codes.
That's fabulous, Abhilasha. I can see a lot of very glamorous young mommies in the audience. Me, of course, the youngest, who has never cooked ever in her life for her children. My daughter will bear testimony to that. But unlike me, she's a fabulous cook and a great mom. And so all of you here who are interested in cooking or not, I think will be drawn into cooking for their children or their husbands and gain a lot of stuff. I think you've also dissed a lot of myths, which I'm going to come upon. which we have in our heads about what is nutritious, what is tasty, doesn't necessarily have to be healthful, which you've of course very easily demolished, and stuff like that. So my next question to you is that Ayurveda, which is the latest cornerstone of all nutrition and longevity, that emphasizes mindful dietary practices for optimal well-being. And one of the principles of Ayurveda is prevention of consumption of dairy products. What is your contribution and what is your view on that? I'll discuss, actually, I don't want to go into more about your book and the recipes there because these girls just can't wait to dive into it. But after I finish asking you a couple of these, if you would like to emphasize anything in the book that you particularly want to throw light on, we'll come to that. But I'll just take one or two of the enigmas that I have in my head. We start with this. How bad or how good is dairy, both for children and for adult nutrition?
See, modern day, I think the world is quite conflicted about dairy. There's a whole, we have a lot of nutritionists who say absolutely not, and we have nutritionists who say that you have to have this. Just to clarify, Ayurveda doesn't say not to have dairy.
Okay.
So that's a clarification because ghee is very much a part of Ayurveda, and it is used medicinally as well.
Yeah.
So the quality of cow's milk we are getting, the quality of butter we are using, how we are using it, the time of day, that has an impact. And in my, I'd say 14 years of practice, I've seen all kinds where, me included, are lactose intolerant entirely. My children are not. There are people who absolutely digest dairy beautifully. So there is a concept in Ayurveda which is Shoshan and Poshan.
Yes.
Okay? What does it mean? It means, Poshan means to give, to nurture. Shoshan means to take away. It's almost like torture. Dairy can be both, body to body. For some people it actually depletes and takes away, and for some people it nourishes. And that's what, as health coaches, we have to discover and help the person.
Yeah, so it's totally subjective.
It is.
One person may be lactose intolerant and the other person may be absolutely fine.
Yes.
So there's no one size fits all.
And Ayurveda says that there is no one size fits all.
That fits all. Yes, thank you. That's a very important thing. That
I just want to add one more thing. Like, when I remember when I was growing up, my mom, she would just say that, she was just use ghee in all the cooking. And I remember then when I was, when my son was growing up that time, all these different oils, there was so much of stress that no ghee oils. And my mom used to tell me, my God, what are you people doing? Ghee is actually the best. And now I see that, ghee has come back. I'm sure all the young moms here, they must be all saying that everybody is now, so much of more emphasis and stress on ghee.
Yeah. So this whole industry has burned now where there's A2 ghee and there's that happy cow ghee. And just for your information, I only use ghee. I don't use olive oil in my cooking at all. And I think that the taste of pure ghee in Indian cooking is unmatched. You cannot change it for olive oil or all the other so-called healthy oils which were being propagated for a long time by nutritionists. So back to ghee. I have one more question for you, both of you actually. Sugar is being propelled as the biggest beast in nutrition. And if you come back to Ayurveda, Ayurveda says that you must have all the 5 tastes, salt, sugar, bitter, sweet, and chili, whatever else I may be missing or something wrong. So how bad or how good is sugar? And this is from somebody I have a son who's a biohacker, and hundreds of things he sends me that, you have to get off sugar. And I have been off sugar for 12 months. I'll tell you my own experience later. But as a nutritionist and as a child food expert, how good or how bad is sugar? And how soon in early life of children, toddlers' lives, should we remove sugar from their diets?
There's no question of removing sugar. Like you said, it's madhur ras is what sugar really talks about. We have to differentiate between refined sugar and what is natural sugar. So if you're not meant to eat sweet or madhur foods, why would there be sweet out there in the world? Fruits are sweet. Gur
I
is
can
sweet.
diss that. You're not meant to be doing opium, and there's enough opium going around the world.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry to be a spoiled sport.
No, fair enough. But the front of your tongue is basically your sweet taste bud.
Yes.
And children begin with breast milk, and breast milk is actually a sweet food. So sugar in that form is essential. Right from when we start with breast milk and then we go into solids. So rice is a sweet food. Ghee is a sweet food. It has madhur ras. So fruits are the same. Gur is the same. Sugarcane is the same. The problem comes with refined sugar. And we have grown up. In fact, with her, we discovered so many recipes, grandma recipes, where we have all kinds of natural sugars in all our mithai. So that was always made. It was part of culture. It's coming back, laddus, halwas, etc. And none of them have to be made with refined sugar. So why should they be ever removed from the diet? Now, based on lifestyle, in urban India, if we are finding lifestyle diseases coming in, which are coming in quite early, then we have to see how much or what to give.
But can you give me an instance of some of the sugar substitutes which are not refined sugars, which we've always used, like in grandma's recipe?
Right. Why don't you?
So just, speaking from my own experience that, when my grandson was born and again, young parents, no salt, no sugar. And when as a family we went, we were visiting, they live in Singapore, so my in-laws also went and me and my husband went and, they were all carrying a box of chocolate. And my children said that no cake, no chocolate. So they were like really horrified. Aise kaise ho sakta hai? Hum log to, when we brought up our children, we gave them all of it. But thing is that, you just have to understand and respect what even they have to say. So I was just sitting and watching that, what should one do? They want to give him a chocolate, so how to create something? So I decided to create a chocolate ball or like a date laddu. So what did I do? Like date puree. And again, molasses is very good. So use a lot of molasses, date puree, fruit puree, fruit pulp. So actually you just have to get creative and then also at the same time also be mindful that, to please both of them. That, and when we're giving him also mithai or like, like as Vidhi mentioned that, we've grown up all like in all our houses we make sattu. In sattu we put shakkar. You don't have to put sugar. You put molasses, you put gur, you put honey. So these are all the different substitutes which you can use in making all these mithais and even like popsicles. I made popsicles for him, so I put fruit puree and then also like something like butter, peanut butter, almond butter, which also has a sweetness. So you can use many things. You just have to be very, very creative and you can just come up with most amazing recipes, mithai, or whether it's dessert or whatever it is.
The challenge is that when your children go out there into school and the school menus have rasgullas and gulab jamuns and donuts there, and then to be able to start drilling your 2-year-old and 3-year-old, which mine tells me every day that, I can only eat chocolate if it's 99% dark. So I mean, we are trying to create a whole world out there which is going to be devoid of processed sugar, which is of course a good thing. But I also feel that the big challenge is because the temptation of sugar, of processed sugar, I mean, I gave it up just one fine day. It's tougher than I'm told giving up smoking. But I do admit that there are a lot of things I feel changes within me, and for a start, a lineless face, which I attribute a lot to a no sugar diet. So yes, that's a very informative and interesting aspect you said. And all of us, I think, here are trying to implement that we try to remove processed sugars from our thing. Is fresh cane juice a processed sugar, or would you say it's a natural sugar? I mean, cane is pure sugar. So is that okay to use? I'm just an aside.
I mean, see, sugar, which is found in nature, is a carbohydrate. It's an energy-giving food.
Yes.
So just like we give 2 or 3 ounces of juice, orange juice to a child, sugarcane is also fine. Yeah. It's when you're having 5 glasses is where it becomes a problem.
True. So
anything in excess, is not
Sure.
not good. That's for anything.
I have one more question to you, which has intrigued me, is that I have always known as a child, the first thing you feed to a newborn baby, and big fanfare ke saath wo बुआ खिलाती है, वो चांदी के चम्मच में शहद. But all the new opinions, the new doctors and the nutritionists all say that honey is to be avoided because it has botulin. What is the truth in that?
It's clinically not allowed anymore. So that's where we are. It's not allowed before the age of 1. So that is the standard practice right now. Now what happens is, even in terms of when I'm working in the hospital and the mother comes in, there's a lot of cultural pujas that are happening, you know. Each of us, Punjabi, Marwari, Bengali, everyone has different things happening in the hospital itself. The bua will come and do something around, you know, and they're not allowed to. So many times they're quite offended about it and they're like, we'll just touch it here. It won't go in, I promise you. So this kind of thing does happen. We have to work around both, no? Keep tiptoeing around culture, but it is not clinically allowed anymore.
But is it true that honey is like a poison for the skin? Because I'm sure all of us have had our first sip of honey as babies and we've lived it.
So I think what's happened is it's changed. Just like the quality of milk has changed, how honey is processed and made has changed.
So it's probably the process which has made it bad.
Yes.
So in effect, if you have really pure, like if I have a beehive at home and I distill the honey, I'm allowed to give it to my grandchild.
Yeah, and how would you have the clinical evidence for that? So that's where the problem lies with most of these things.
True. So let's just leave it at that honey is not allowed.
Also, you know, this now also a new thing that, you know, honey, while cooking, you shouldn't add honey to it. I mean, it's okay if it's already cooked like chena. If chena is already, you've made chena and then, you know, it's kind of, you let it cool and then you add honey to it. But while cooking, you should not add honey. Yeah.
So it's true that if honey is put into hot water or if it's heated, it turns toxic. Yeah. There is truth in that. Yeah. We survived. I guess there were better times. There were less adulterated food.
We moved more.
Yeah.
With time, we are moving less. So everything has changed. Even children are moving less.
Yeah. But I think that unfortunately with this advancement and whatever you may call it, growth in civilization and the newer techniques that are coming, newer diseases, which we had never heard of. We never knew what lactose intolerance was. We didn't know what gluten intolerance was. Now everybody is gluten intolerant. Every dietitian will tell you, wheat छोड़ दो, वजन कम हो जाएगा, अपने आप ही कम हो जाएगा, फुल्का रोटी सब बंद हो जाएगा, कितना सब्जी और फल आप खा लेंगे. So coming back to that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it is the wheat quality which is probably causing the intolerance. It's not the wheat per se. If you go into the villages, you have organic wheat. Of course, organic has become another big like a sham. I don't know how organic is organic. We'll come to that in a while. My next question to you, which I think you've partly answered, is the conflict between healthy and tasty. So what is tasty doesn't necessarily have to be unhealthy. And this is coming from somebody who's a complete street food addict, a junkie, so to speak. I can never resist golgappas and street food, and especially your Calcutta ones. So how unhealthy? I mean, I think our systems, mine I think, is resistant to street food kind of diseases. But how unhealthy is actually eating street food? Why can't we make ourselves immune right from an early age? That's my first question. And the second is, how do you create the balance between healthy and tasteful?
So, interestingly, what happens is we always say we have to reinvent how we think about germs. And it's all, for everything in nutrition, it's the 80-20 rule. Even food-wise, when you're eating, we say be 80% full and leave that 20%. With food also, and healthy food, I'd say at least 80% needs to be perfect. So you have to get all the different nutrients, and 20% you can allow yourself. Now you have to decide how much based on how the child has been brought up, what the age is. Eating those 2 golgappas and maybe having a tummy ache the next day is okay, because you get resistant over time. But the first day you go there and you start eating 15, 20 and keep eating it every day is where the problem is. So absolutely small amount of introductions will make you stronger over time. It cannot be an assault on the system.
What is your favorite food?
So I actually don't land up eating too much of street food.
Oh God, you're so sanitized. I'm talking to the wrong person then.
A little bit, like maybe jhal muri sometimes, but not much. So
I bet you make it at home.
Yeah, I prefer making at home.
Okay, we come to another very interesting and very oft mentioned myth or problem with the youngsters is soda, diet soda, Coke. So what are your views on that? And how fair is it to deny our children the taste of Coke? And one more question which comes from there is that what is the advantage of having Diet Coke versus normal Coke? Everybody in this room would like to hear that.
Coke Zero.
Coke Zero, yeah.
Everybody's having Coke Zero.
Yeah. So in fact, I believe, and you'll be a better judge of that, will be able to tell me, that Coke Zero is much more harmful than Coke because of the aspartame content. But your views, girls.
Okay, I'm going to take a hard stand on this. I have a teenager and another almost teenager. They've never had Coke. This is something that's non-negotiable.
Wow.
It is non-negotiable.
She needs a clap for that.
No. This is I mean, I'm okay. I told my daughter, you can have your first whiskey with me if you want it, because she sees her grandfather having it and she's aspirational on that. That at 17, 18, I'm having my first whiskey with her.
So you'd rather she has a whiskey than a Coke.
Absolutely.
Well done. Okay.
And they can have dessert, they can have chocolate. I mean, we make the date laddus and chocolates, and sometimes she's there with our experiment. She's like making faces at it because she knows. But when it comes to Coke, it's a hard stand there. There is no way, whether it's Coke Zero or any kind of new substitute, you cannot be drinking that. I'd rather you eat a piece of chocolate cake every day. That's how harmful we are talking. So there's no question.
Taking it up from there that, there's nothing to do with children or something. Even my husband, he's a diabetic patient. And he keeps arguing all the time that, I'm not having mithai, I'm not having this, I'm not having that. And then suddenly, his sugar just goes totally haywire. I can make out when he starts drinking a lot of fluids and water. But then I keep telling him that, all the time, you want to have Coke Zero, you want to have Diet Coke, you want to have whatever Sprite. So, you can see that, it's because of all this that the sugar levels have totally, gone haywire. So yes, for me also, like as Vidhi says, that cold drinks are totally, totally no. And I would never even encourage my grandson to have that. There are many, many options of much more healthier drinks, and you rather have that than to have all these aerated drinks for sure.
So like even just a plain soda you don't recommend?
No.
But I want to tell you about the Coke Zero, what you asked. So what happens in the body, we're not realizing. When we try to trick our mind into saying, okay, this tastes like sugar, but there isn't any. But you're experiencing it from your mouth. You're feeling it. Once it goes and it doesn't find that carbohydrate, it starts to eat other things to fulfill that need. So you'll end up eating more simple carbohydrates rather than complex, and those break down into your body and release sugar. Ideally not. So just to mention Ayurveda in that, so what happens with soda, it's basically bubbles, right? So when you're actually putting any kind of sparkling water, and there's a lot of new stuff in the market, every time my clients come and they say, acha, ye bhi hai, ye bhi nahi, you're basically creating more vat in your body. If you've heard that concept, yes. It's the air element. Yes. And vat going here and there can do anything from leg pain to headaches, which most people think is migraine. Half the time it's just a really, really bad headache and it's become systemic. So why put any of this unnecessary thing into your body?
Before I open, I think we have 5 minutes more to speak to us, and then I'll open it to the audience for questions. To both of you, Abhilasha and Vidhi, what is that one takeaway, like one primary thing you feel that every parent or every adult, every person who's conscious of nutrition should bear in mind? This is something that you absolutely must do, both of you. And the second I want to ask you is, what was your most challenging part of writing this book, both of you? You can take either first or later.
So I'll first answer the challenging part. So I cook a lot. And from years and years and years, my mother's a very, very good cook and I cook a lot. But I never follow recipes. And I never follow measurements.
Instinct.
So for me, the biggest challenge was to recreate everything and to follow the measurements. I think that's why it took me so long. It took us almost 2 years to get this book published. I think that was the most challenging thing, to write the recipes, then to write the measurements, and then to put it all in a recipe. So that was the challenging part. And second, the first one was...
I said, what is that one takeaway?
Yeah, so one takeaway I think everybody is, for me, it is eat seasonal and local. I mean, this is very, very important, very important. Always, I always believe in this, and I feel that everybody should try and follow this, as much as you can.
Yeah, which is probably the mainstay of that Rujita Devikar's book, where she's the first one who said that eat what your grandmothers ate and eat, also consume what is locally grown. That makes sense. Vidhi.
I think every parent today is struggling with how much of which category of food to give and how much to let children enjoy. We have a birthday party, spreads constantly. My takeaway would always be that there has to be enough fiber in the diet. And it's not about making our kids go on diets. Fiber has to be there every single day. So even if we are taking our children and giving them idlis, mothers tell me that we give idlis at birthday parties because that's the healthiest thing. But when they come home, are you giving them that vegetable soup? Yeah. Or are they having another dinner, or are they just going out to sleep? Because some foods cannot be switched out. However full a child may be, that little bit of fruit and vegetable has to go in every single day, because that is your immunity booster. So a mother who comes to me and says, how do I boost my child's immunity? This is just every day be disciplined and consistent to give them fiber. That's all you have to do.
One question before I hand it over to them. What is your view on vegetarian versus non-vegetarian diets, especially for, starting with youngsters and as we grow older? Do you feel it's okay to be strictly vegetarian and get enough nutrition, or do you feel there's a role for the non-vegetarians, which we as vegetarians have a disadvantage? I'm sure a lot of people here would like to hear that as well.
So interestingly, I had to answer this question to myself because I chose to be a vegetarian. Of course, the advantage was it was never cooked in my kitchen. But I have a father and a grandfather who will try absolutely anything that moves. But not allowed in the kitchen. So I got married in a family where it is allowed in the kitchen and everyone eats it. And I initially didn't want because I don't believe in killing a mosquito. So I'm coming from that space. And obviously it's on the table and my children want to eat it. So my approach was eat clean. Let's not eat the biryani with the dalda in it, but let's eat clean at home. And one of them is a national level sports player. So it was a very big question. What do I do now? So I just made them aware about proteins, because that is where the discussion begins, and said have enough fiber that it doesn't get stuck in your intestines. So just educating them and saying what's the right kind if you have to eat it, and also observe your body, is it suiting you? Just because I didn't eat it doesn't mean it doesn't suit the other person.
So you feel there's nothing wrong with a non-vegetarian menu?
See, spiritually I feel it.
Yeah.
But nutritionally, I think also there is a whole discussion on karmic cycle, and that's a different discussion.
That's another area we don't go
But
into.
as a parent, if that is a part of the culture of the family, you just teach the child to have it in a balanced way.
Okay, one question, which is a little bit diverse from your book. One weight loss trip, you're a nutritionist, to each one of us here. One weight loss trip from you and from you. And both of you are super fit and slim. So
for me, it's changed a lot. Like when I walked in, Nilamaji didn't recognize me because we actually met after 7 years. So after pandemic, I just realized that, I was quite overweight. I still am, but I still need. Still is a long way to go. But I just realized that how unfit I was, and I really needed to do something. And that was a time where there was a huge transformation. And I started thinking a lot about my diet, and I started doing intermittent fasting, 16 hours, which I think is really helping. I'm a Jain, a Pakka Jain, and in Jainism is very scientific. And I've always seen my grandmother, my mother, who've never actually eaten after sunset and eaten after sunrise. So Jainism always had this thing of, now we call it intermittent fasting, but it was always there, but I never followed it. I always thought it's very, very difficult. But now I'm doing it. It's been almost close to 4 years. I do 16 hours intermittent, almost 6 days a week, and I walk 10 kilometers every day. Yes, and no meetha, no fried from last 4 years.
There we go.
So
She's
I think
bust all the myths.
So I've kind of managed to lose almost close to 14, 15 kilos.
Wow.
in the last 4 years. And I think the loss was easy, but to maintain it is more difficult. You really, really have to be you have to follow a regimen, which, you really, I just wish that I keep following. But yes, intermittent fasting has helped a lot, not only in weight loss, but in terms of I used to have major acidity, all that. I think that's also almost 80% gone. Yeah.
And you, Vidhi,
So I'll take from her that discipline is something, but I followed it in a very different way because I've been this for the last 20 years. Wow. So I went up with my kids, came back to this. And I'll tell you what I learned. I eat 5 meals a day and I follow the 80-20 rule. That 20% is junk, street food, whatever, suhali with chai, etc. But the other 80 is within the same range of foods, which means complex carbohydrates, like we'll have bajra in this season, etc. We have our vegetables. And here, if that is the one tip to take away, eat 9 portions of fruit and vegetable every day. After that, eat whatever you can.
Wow. So that needs a hand.
9 portions of fruit and vegetable every day.
Fruit and vegetables.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Abhilasha, Vidhi, you're going to see a much slimmer lot next time when you come with your next book. Guys, anybody?
Hi, my name is Arjuna. I'm part of the Delhi SRs. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about these fad diets like keto, any of these, like you're saying intermittent fasting? I don't eat after 4 o'clock. I get up in the morning at 7. I have a cold water shower. I do yoga regularly 6 times a week. And I lost a lot of weight with these, with keto, but a lot of it has come back. And I just want to ask you whether these diets really are good or they're bad for the body. I'm not asking about the coming back of the weight because you can't carry it on for the rest of your life. So, and I'm a vegetarian. So
see, fad diets, sometimes people do use to shock their body out of, a certain way they've been. Long term, they're not healthy for you. So unless a fad diet is something that has found its roots in a particular, say, in a Ayurvedic sort of manner, if that is, keto wasn't meant for usual regular people. It became something that nutritionists started following. It's not something I subscribe to, so...
Well, I lost almost 12 kilos.
Yeah, that's why I said it shocks the body.
Like Abhilasha saying, intermittent fasting.
Yes.
So like intermittent fasting, I don't eat after 4:30 and I start next morning at about 8:30, my first cup of tea, which makes it 16 hours. But I don't seem to lose weight. So if you've lost 12 kilos on it, there has to be something else besides.
Yes, of course. As I said, that there are a lot of other things with intermittence. Of course, a lot of walking and not eating fried, not eating meatha. So no meatha at all. And I just feel like coming back to your diets, I just feel that, any diet, you have to follow something which you can sustain. All these diets which are fad diets, very, very difficult to sustain over a period of time.
Since you asked what else, actually we both didn't touch on that yet because today we were talking a lot about food. There are actually 4 pillars. And I see her do the same. You have to sleep on time. You have to move a lot. Yeah, so hers is 10 kilometers, I play sports. And the food has to be right, whatever your regimen might be, and you have to be stress-free. So both of us have only gone through that little acute stress when it comes to the book. So that's a performance kind of thing. But if it's long-term stress, it's not going to help you lose weight.
And good sleep is very important, very, very important. Yeah.
Are you asking something? Yeah. Let her ask and then.
So I wanted to ask you, consumption of Maggi is equally bad as consumption of cola? Because, my children consume Maggi, but Coca-Cola is something that they've never tasted. Is it equally bad?
It won't be because they can't keep drinking Maggi. You'll have only a certain portion and you'll stop. So that is also a key to deciding what not to give.
Okay.
You have to negotiate that with your children, but obviously you can't have 5 Maggis, but you can have 4 or 5 glasses of cola.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. How do you see the concept of superfoods evolving in the future? And are there any emerging superfoods that you feel are more promising, that, like trends, like we had quinoa and then chia? So anything that's coming up in your research, whatever you've done?
Superfoods are pretty much, I'd say, millets now, and they've gone all over the world, which is why we have great alternatives now. They're slightly processed, of course, but even your sevai, your pastas, your noodles are coming out in all kinds of millets. So you have bajra noodles, you have all of this available. So every region, like you have foxtail millet even from Italy. So every region is going to come up with their millets, and that's going to be your next superfood that takes over.
No, there are a lot of range of millets, yes.
And what is your take on multigrain? Because I see a lot on Instagram, people saying just stick to one grain, don't mix the grains. What is your take on that?
Ideally, grains should not be mixed. That's not the ideal way of doing it. And the reason is, you will see when you cook, rice cooks at a certain time, it has a certain digestive power on our stomach. And bajra is totally different. It cooks at a different time. So if you mix the two grains, your stomach now doesn't know what to do. So it's quite difficult for a growing adult or even a teenager to assimilate that. Only a very young child who's very, very active doesn't matter, because their digestion power is quite high. But from day one, we should have the right habits. So let's not mix grains in one meal.
Yeah, you can have, balance it, like, maybe one day you have bajra, one day you have jowar, one day you have something else. So it's good. That way it's very good to keep having different grains. But yeah, at the same time, yeah.
What we try to tell actually families, and we've done some of that here also, is, if you're making a roti, for example, put a little bit of sattu in that. Put a little bit of bajra ka atta. Maybe add a spoon of dahi or sweet potato, and then grate some vegetables. Then that way children are eating more veggies also. It's like a high protein roti also, and you've got the local millet. So it's a better way to do that kind of mix than have 5 different grains in one.
Okay, my question is, what is your take on supplements? Magnesium, selenium, kelp, calcium. I seem to be short on everything, despite the fact that I think I eat the healthiest. Plus, also, if you have a condition like the thyroid, and if you can't absorb fat. So, what is it? Everybody's popping in a lot of supplements. What is your take on it?
I think based on the, few things that we are dealing with in our own bodies, sometimes supplements do become imperative. And even for children now, pediatricians are recommending that vitamin D is checked and given at regular intervals. So I think they have become important. But the ideal way is to have a perfect diet with all the different categories. And once you've got tested and you will have to take supplements. So they're absolutely important if you do know that there are certain things that are deficient.
Chemical supplements get absorbed in the body. No. Because if a lot of doctors and health and people on YouTube, you have a lot of people giving you a lot of gyan. They say that supplements don't impact your health in any way.
Actually, there's a lot out there that has a good biolocking nature system now. So you have to explore that. There's a whole market that's emerged with a lot of natural supplements, which are not synthetic. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's the way to go forward.
Hi. It's me. Can I ask a question, if that's okay? I'm here. Hi. So first of all, I really want to compliment you. Both have given amazing information on the diet programs, and it's been so interesting as well. Just a small query I had from you. The Indian mindset has become, when there's a party at home and we have to put 10 dishes at the table, otherwise it's not regarded as a party. What will people say? So we have a book club. Nilima is one of my closest buddies as well. And we have a book meet happening day after tomorrow. And I very sweetly asked them today, would you mind if I put only 2 or 3 dishes at the table? There was nobody answered. Of course, they won't mind it. But tell me something. Is it really important for a human person, anyone, to be looking at 10 dishes at a table and saying we're going to take each and every single piece from those dishes? Or is it okay to have maybe 2 or 3 dishes at the table so as not to confuse the body? So do you feel that the mindset of Indians have to change And rather than putting an elaborate hash of 10 dishes, it's nice to put 2 to 3 interesting dishes and that's it. So what would you say on that?
I think it's absolutely okay, you know, like when I have like tea or lunches at home, it's not necessary that, you know, you have to keep those 10, 15 dishes. It's good to keep about 3 to 4 dishes and not confuse, and everybody should enjoy whatever you made, you know. So you should follow what you feel is the best and not see what everybody else is doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's really enlightening.
I just want to continue with that same question. Does the body get confused when you have more than 2 things at a table on a daily basis? When you eat mixture of things?
So, I mean, I'm the person who will put those 10 things. And I'll tell you why. Because just like I said, 9 portions of fruit and vegetable, I have a husband who doesn't eat any. He's at 0 every day. So that person is also going to come to the table. And then there's going to be me, and there's a lot of in-between. So sometimes what happens is, if you have clarity of mind, you're going to choose those 2 or 3 things. If I'm lactose intolerant, I won't choose with chena and paneer or cheese in it. Somebody who loves that cheese and is looking forward to it, for them you've spoiled the experience by not putting it there. And the person who's looking for French fries, or if there are kids over there who are not going to eat that gajar with hummus, you've given them the option, but they may not. So a lot of it is clarity of mind, self-restraint, and that humans have to learn for themselves.
Somebody might eat all of it also.
Yeah. So, I mean, in a common wedding we went to recently, I had 2 people who grabbed me and like put me in front, meet the person who doesn't eat at weddings. But you understand, it's a mindset like you said, Arey, shaadi mein jayenge to khana hi padega. How can you disrespect the person? I was like, they don't care. They've put it out for 1,000 people. If I didn't eat, it doesn't matter. But you have to make that decision.
No, I didn't mean that. I meant, is it healthy to just eat like 1 grain, like you said, and 1 vegetable? Can you have more than 1 vegetable and a dal and a grain together, 2 types of grains? So just that on a daily basis. I'm not talking about a party.
Okay, on a daily basis, a plate should have at least 3 colors in addition to your legumes. If you're a vegetarian, then definitely an orange and a green should be there. And you know, the lighter water vegetables we talk about, like lauki, turai. So at least 3 of those colors should be there. And as close to a rainbow diet.
Hi, yeah. Coming back to milk, for adults you said that each to their own, according to their body type. But is milk considered important till a certain age? I mean, let's say 5 years, I mean, till you're 5 years or for whatever, anything like that?
So it's a very easy form of calcium if you're talking about specifically cow's milk, because we have a lot of alternatives now. So soya is there, we have almond milk. If you're talking purely protein, calcium for a growing child, it's a very easy source.
Okay.
So at the age of 2 is where we start assessing. Before 2, it's not clinically recommended anymore.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Either you're on breast milk, by the pediatrician recommendation is breast milk or formula, and you can start a little chena and dahi in the 2nd year of life. Now 3rd year is where we start exploring, is the child doing okay digestively? That is where the assessment takes place. If they are fine, we start with 2 ounces and see what happens. If the parent sees that the impact is not great, we discourage it and we find alternatives for calcium and protein. Okay. As long as we are close to the count that is recommended for age, it's all right not to continue.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thanks.
Hi, I had one question. I have 8.5-year-old twins. And for no good reason that I can explain, I've always lived with this concept that anything out of a packet is not good, but anything fresh is fine. So to explain that, I don't really encourage my kids to eat chocolate. But if they want to eat a laddu or like chena murgi is their favorite, I'm okay with that. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah. Okay. So one more question. Is it right that milk and banana is not a good combination? Because my kids have that every single morning. And I've been told that by lots of people that milk and banana is a bad combination. So this is something which was really bothering me, and I thought I'm going to check on this, and I happen to be here.
I mean, in Ayurveda, it's not recommended. Fruits are not mixed with dairy. However, if it suits them and they're doing well with it and you add a little haldi or cinnamon, it should be all right.
Yeah, hi. So as you are a child nutritionist, I want to know that a teenager, especially a girl child, when they start chumming, so in our times, there was no iron supplementation for them. There was no extra step taken. Do you think it is necessary? And if yes, how do we meet that demand?
You actually should start educating your girls by the time they're 8 or 9, if that hasn't already happened, in terms of food that is compensating and making sure your hemoglobin and your ferritin and all of that is rising. So you have a different language, obviously not in this manner, but your red and dark leafy greens need to be incorporated every day. So whether it's a little beetroot, apple, anar, whether you do it as a juice, an ABC juice you can do every day. Start putting spinach or
beetroot
kale.
Also. Beetroot.
Yeah, beetroot,
Is very good.
Kale leaves you have here. In Bengal we have kulekhara. So literally every pregnant woman is put on kulekhara juice to make the hemoglobin go up. It's something like kale and spinach. Yeah. English, I don't think. Yeah, it's a green leaf. So we have a lot of local leaves there, and you'll have them here also. Even spinach is a good one. Anything in the rotis need to be incorporated every day. This much we have. And gur is very good for iron. All your dry fruits, dates, raisins, they're very good for iron. So you should take at least 3 of these things and incorporate them every day.
What is the role of nuts in my everyday life? Because a lot of people are shifting to, if you're hungry, for your hunger pangs, shift to nuts. And somebody told me never consume nuts directly. They all should be soaked and then taken. So what is your take on that?
So they're like seeds, right? So if you soak seeds and have them, they are more digestible, they become more alive. So you give prana to that food. It doesn't mean you can't have it otherwise. So that's the ideal way. Even raisins ko thoda soak karne se, it's better. But if you roasted them and made them, or you've, we've used a lot of nut powder in our laddu because we like almond as a superfood that, is great for your brain. You can make laddus out of it, put it in halwa, even sometimes add it to roti.
So also added to like tal makhana mixture, added nuts and seeds to it.
Yeah. So it can be a snack, but you can't have 30, 40. So a lot of people are like handful of nuts, 15 kajus, 15 pista, so much. You can't do that. Then it's too much.
Again, coming back to it, that everything in moderation, Yeah, that's very, very important for anything. Almond flour, yes.
Yeah. So that's not evidenced, and that's a very tricky space. So we have to explore that because, I know you're right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, if you had 3 rotis of almond flour twice a day, that would be quite harmful. So if you're having one,
very heavy. I mean, it's
extremely heavy to digest.
Difficult to digest. Low calorie, but
very high fat also. Yeah. Yes.
So hi. Sorry. I have a question. So, we have these dadi nani ke recipes like your gajar ka halwa and all these things. We generally use gur for a lot of these dishes. However, I have read that gur should not be used with milk-based desserts. Supposing we are making a traditional gajrela or any dessert which requires milk, how do we substitute? If I'm not using gur, do we use khand or do we use khajur? What should we use in place of gur?
Khajur is very good. I mean, khajur is good to, even for children, it's very good to give them khajur. Right. So khajur is very good. And of course, khand is molasses, na? Shakkar hua na? Shakkar is very good. Very, very good.
So shakkar is okay to use with
yes,
dairy.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yeah,
basically
absolutely.
Good that they say that you should not be using, right?
Absolutely. It's absolutely fine to use shakkar.
I just want to differentiate. I think there is sugarcane ka gur.
Yes.
That is different.
Okay.
And then there is date.
Yes.
So that is the one you're not supposed to use with dairy. The date gur. The sugarcane gur, which is called aak ka gur, which is available, wo dhela milta hai, that's fine.
Okay.
You get liquid versions also. We were experimenting with a lot of our recipes with the liquid version of it. Right. Not ideal, especially in the mithai. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. When we talk of the Indian cuisine, whether for the children or the grown-ups, I have come to realize that spices play a extremely, extremely important role. And many of us are probably not aware what these spices can do. So I have a query to that, and I have a suggestion also. And if you permit, I can also share an experience. During COVID times and the Corona times, there was so much of pressure on the hospitals. I realized that we need not depend on the hospitals, because God knows what will happen in these hospitals. So after a lot of study, I devised certain recipes, and I would like to share with you that in my entire friend circle, we use that recipe, and none of us came anywhere closer to COVID or Corona, and none of us has till date taken any vaccination. None of us have taken any vaccination. And we were so absolutely sure that it will not come near to us. That is one. Secondly, I would suggest that next time, Nilimaji, you would like to consider having a session on spices. I'm telling you, it is such an interesting subject. We are working on it, and I am using certain spices even tackle Alzheimer and Parkinson's. And I am sure that I will be able to regenerate and rejuvenate the neurons which are dead using these spices. So I just want to ask our guests of honor, what do they feel about the spices? Because none of us have talked about spices today in the entire food session today we had.
But you're very right. Indian spices have lots of benefits. And as you all know, that haldi, turmeric is becoming so popular all over the world. They're just popping in those tablets, and we use the haldi powder. So actually spices, and even it's really good that you mentioned this. And even for children, right from the beginning, we must introduce them to all the spices. Like we say, ki mirchi nahi dena, thoda in moderation, we should start right from the beginning so that they get used to it. Nowadays, I keep hearing that, they don't, my child doesn't have lal mirchi, doesn't have this. But I think spices are very important and should be included in all our meals.
I mean, I guess it got skipped out in our discussion because it's assumed that all our recipes have a whole array of spices.
Thank you so much, everyone. That was such a fascinating, engaging, invigorating session. So engaged everyone was. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's remember that incorporating these nutritious choices into our diet is a journey towards our well-being, and it's essential to find out what works best for each one of us. Without words of gratitude, there's never a format close to a session. Oh, sorry, my glasses. Okay, sorry. Without words of gratitude, there is never a formal close to a session. Hence I, the Pali Basin Hessas woman of Delhi, take this golden opportunity to express my sincerest gratitude to Abhilasha Sethia and Vidhi Beri, and conversationalist Nilima Dalmi Adhar, who made today's episode of The Right Circle in Delhi so enriching and enjoyable. On behalf of Prabha Khaitan Foundation, I would also express my heartfelt gratitude to patron Sri Cement Limited, India International Centre, Dinesh Nandini Ramakrishna Dalmia Foundation, and media partner Dainik Jagran. Without the support of literature lovers, an event is never complete. A big round of applause for the literary enthusiasts of Delhi for taking precious time out of their busy schedule and attending today's event. Now, I would like to invite Richa Yadav to felicitate Abhilasha Sethia and Vidhi Beri. Before you leave the venue, kindly take a complimentary copy of A Superfood a Day, a book by two mompreneurs, autographed by Abhilasha Sethia and Vidhi Beri. The authors are right here. Thank you.
पहाड़ों से, गलियों किनारों से तेरी पहले की पहचान है। बादलों विचारों से, खुशी की फुहारों से, काहे जाने तू अनजान है। हर दिन पग चल दूर है जाता, जाने कहाँ तू जाएगा। गोल है धरती और इस पर जो खोजेगा वो पाएगा। सांस भरेगा लंबी तो तू चैन मुफ्त में पाएगा। घर आने से डर जाने को बना नहीं था तू। आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गाँव, मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाऊं। आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गाँव, मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाऊं। आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गाँव, मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाऊं।